If you're listening to this right now, I want to begin with something simple but so important. I see you. I feel what you are going through. And I want to speak to your heart today, not just your ears. Yet losing a spouse is one of the most painful, disorienting, and life-changing things a person can go through. It is not just about losing your partner. You lose routines. You lose a sense of purpose. You lose the sound of their voice, the warmth beside you in bed, the little habits you shared for decades. Sometimes, you even start to lose sight of yourself. But here's what I want you to know from the very beginning. And I want you to really hear this. You are still here. You are still breathing. And your life, even now, still holds beauty, still holds value, and still holds possibilities. You do not have to move on, but you can move forward. You can carry their love with you while still building something new. And I promise you, that is not betrayal. That is growth. In today's message, I want to gently share 5 truths, 5 guiding lights that can help you not just survive, but truly thrive in this next chapter of your life. These truths come from real women, real pain, and real healing. They are not rules. They are not quick fixes. They are gentle reminders of your strength, your dignity, and the joy you still deserve. So let's take this step together. You are not alone. Truth number 1, do not drown in grief. Let it flow, then let it go. Grief is not a weakness. It is love that has nowhere to go. And when you lose the person who held your world together, that grief can feel so heavy, so unbearable, that even breathing feels like a chore. Let me tell you about Mildred. Mildred is 68 years old. She lives in a quiet town in Kentucky. She and her husband, James, were married for 42 years. They raised 2 children together, built a life, watched their grandchildren grow. And then, one morning in October, she woke up and found he was no longer breathing. She said, "It felt like someone had unplugged my life. The whole house went silent, even when the TV was on. I could hear the emptiness." For weeks, she did all the things you would expect. She cooked 2 servings out of habit. She kept his slippers by the side of the bed. She would talk to his recliner while watching their favorite news program, pretending he was still there. She told me, "I didn't even cry in front of people. I just smiled and nodded while breaking inside." But then something shifted. One afternoon, while watering her garden, a routine they used to share, she stopped and whispered, "You wouldn't want me to wither like these roses, would you, James?" And that moment changed everything. She didn't stop grieving, but she started living again while grieving. She began journaling her memories. She made a scrapbook of their life. She joined a local walking group for widows, not to forget, but to remember with love, not just with sorrow. I want to say this to you, right now. You are not wrong for feeling what you feel. Cry when you need to. Talk to the empty chair. Sleep on his side of the bed. Grief has no timeline, and no one, not even your well-meaning friends, gets to tell you when you should be over it. But here is the part many women struggle to hear. You cannot live in that grief forever, because staying buried in sadness does not honor the love you shared. It only buries you along with them. Do you think your partner, if they were watching you now, would want to see you stop eating well, stop smiling, stop dreaming? Or would they say, "Honey, it's okay, keep going. You're stronger than you think"? You loved them. They loved you. And that love is not gone. It has simply changed shape. It is quieter now, but it is still with you. In your memories, in your strength, in the quiet way you carry them forward in the things you do. Grief is like a wave. When it first hits, It knocks you down so hard, you feel like you'll never stand again. But over time, if you allow yourself to feel it, and then breathe through it, the waves start to soften, and eventually, you find yourself floating instead of drowning. So here is what you can do. Wake up every morning and put both feet on the ground, even if it takes all your effort. Eat something nourishing, even if it's just toast and tea. Step outside and feel the sun, or the breeze, or the rain. Let yourself cry when the memories come, but also smile when they bring warmth. You can keep their picture on the wall. You can talk to them while you're cooking, but you must also talk to yourself. Remind yourself, I am still here, and I am allowed to be happy again. You did not stop being a whole person just because you lost someone you loved. You are still you, full of wisdom, kindness, and untold strength. And here is one more truth I want you to remember. You do not have to be the same woman you were before the loss. You're allowed to become someone new, someone softer perhaps, or braver, or quieter, or louder. You're allowed to rediscover who you are now, without guilt. Grief will always be a part of your story, but it does not have to be the end of your story. You still have mornings left to enjoy, coffee to sip, books to read, sunsets to watch, people to meet, laughter to hear. Love, in new and different forms, still waiting for you. Let the grief flow. Do not bottle it up, but when you are ready, and only when you are ready, gently, lovingly, begin to let it go. Not because you are forgetting, but because you are remembering in a way that gives you life, not just loss. Truth number 2. Do not depend on your children for your happiness. It is natural to want to feel close to your family when your world has been shaken. It is human to reach for the familiar, the voices, the hugs, the warmth of your children and grandchildren. But there is a difference between being loved by your children and building your entire emotional world around them. Let me tell you about Diana. Diana is 72 years old, a retired teacher from Seattle. When her husband passed, she felt completely lost. The silence in her home was deafening. So when her daughter offered her a room in their house, she accepted right away. At first, it felt like a blessing. Breakfasts with her grandkids, evenings chatting in the kitchen. She felt useful again. She helped with cooking, laundry, homework, babysitting. She poured every ounce of her energy into her daughter's family, believing it was the right thing to do. But slowly, the lines began to blur. She started to feel invisible, not in a cruel way, but in a tired way. Her daughter was busy. Her son-in-law grew impatient. The grandkids became teens, more interested in their phones than their grandmother's stories. Diana began to feel like a guest in a house where she was expected to serve. She told me, "I stopped asking for help. I stopped expressing what I needed. I didn't want to be a burden, but somehow, I already was." Eventually, after months of swallowing her emotions, she made a hard decision. She moved out into a small senior apartment with a tiny balcony and a view of the lake. And do you know what she said? "I cried for a week. Then I slept through the night for the first time in months. I started painting again. I remembered that I still had dreams of my own." Here is what I want to tell you. It is okay to want closeness, but your happiness cannot depend entirely on your children's time, mood, or availability. They have their own lives now, their own marriages, careers, children, and challenges. That does not mean they do not love you, but they may not always be able to give you what you need emotionally, and that is not their fault. It is not yours either. You spent decades nurturing them, but now your energy, your heart, needs to turn back toward you. You are not selfish for wanting space to grow on your own. Too many women stay in unhappy living situations because they believe that being with their children is the only way to feel safe or needed. But here is the truth. You are still needed by yourself. Your needs, your rest, your boundaries, they matter. Consider this. Would you rather spend your days quietly building a life of peace, freedom, and friendships? Or constantly worrying about stepping on toes in your daughter's kitchen? Would you rather be a grandmother who is cherished during weekend visits? Or a live-in helper who is slowly resented for speaking her mind? Being alone does not mean being lonely. In fact, many women say they feel less lonely once they reclaim their independence. You can decorate your space exactly how you like. You can eat when you are hungry, sleep when you are tired, watch what you want on TV, and fill your days with activities that bring you joy. And yes, you can still see your family, hug your grandkids, go to birthdays and holidays, but you do so from a place of strength, not dependence. You do not owe your happiness to anyone else. You gave your children everything when they needed it. Now it is time to give something back to yourself. You're not a burden. You're not forgotten. You're simply ready to live this new chapter as the woman you choose to be. So take that walk. Join that class. Visit that bookstore. Say yes to that trip. Let your children love you, but let your life be your own. Because you are more than just a mother. You are still a whole, radiant woman with so much left to live. Truth number 3. Do not rush into a new relationship out of loneliness. Loneliness can feel like a shadow that never leaves your side. After your spouse passes, there are quiet evenings, empty chairs, and meals that feel strange when shared with no one. In that space, it is so easy to want someone, anyone, just to fill the silence. But loneliness, though painful, is not a good reason to bring someone new into your life too quickly. Let me share a story about Lorraine. Lorraine is 66 years old. She lost her husband, Harold, to cancer when she was just 59. They had been married for almost 40 years. He was her partner in every sense, her friend, her listener, her travel buddy, her home. The house felt colder without him. Lorraine said, "I would walk from room to room with no real purpose. I just wanted someone to say, 'I'm home,' even if it was not him." Her son suggested she consider a local senior social group. She hesitated at first, but she went. And that is where she met Charles. Charles was polite. He opened doors, asked questions, listened. He was also widowed and seemed to understand her pain. When she slipped and injured her ankle walking down her porch steps one day, Charles was the first to show up. He brought her soup. He drove her to the clinic. He stayed and kept her company. 2 months later, he asked if she would consider living together, to keep each other company, to support one another. Lorraine felt surprised, but not opposed. She said, "It had been so long since someone held my hand. I think I just missed being needed." Her son encouraged her to wait, to get to know Charles's family, to take things slowly. But Lorraine didn't want to wait. She had spent enough nights staring at the ceiling. So she said yes. They got married, quietly. Without much ceremony, she moved into his house. At first, it was nice, simple. Companionship, meals together, shared laughter in the evenings. But slowly, things changed. Charles had routines, strong opinions. He liked his meals a certain way, his schedule undisturbed. Lorraine, who had always been lighthearted and spontaneous, began to feel boxed in. One day, 3 of her old friends invited her on a weekend trip. She said yes right away. But when she told Charles, he frowned. "Well, who is going to do the dishes while you are gone?" he asked. That moment hit her hard. She realized she had gone from being a wife to being a housekeeper again. Over the next few months, things got worse. Charles's adult son moved back in after a divorce, with his 6-year-old child in tow. Lorraine, trying to help, took care of the boy every day, but the child was unruly and demanding. She tried to express her concerns gently. Charles snapped. "You're not his mother," he said. "Stay out of it." That was the moment Lorraine knew. She had rushed into something because she was scared of being alone. And now she felt even lonelier than before. She filed for divorce. It was not easy, but it was necessary. Now, Lorraine lives in a small apartment decorated with soft blue walls and lace curtains. She has made peace with her own company. She says, "I might still feel lonely some nights, but at least I am free. At least I know who I am." Here is what I want to share with you. It is okay to want love again. It is okay to want someone to hold your hand, listen to your stories, share a sunset. But make sure that person brings peace, not more pain. You're not broken. You're not less than because you are alone. Do not trade loneliness for resentment. Do not rush into something that does not feel whole. If someone new enters your life, let it be slowly, gently, with time, with honesty, with eyes wide open. And always, always, choose someone who respects your past and cherishes your present. Your heart has already known great love. That love cannot be replaced. But your heart can grow again if treated gently. You deserve companionship that feels like comfort, not control. So take your time, and remember, being alone can be painful, but the wrong person can make you feel even lonelier. You deserve peace in this season. You deserve dignity. You deserve to choose yourself first. Truth number 4. Do not neglect your body while healing your heart. Grief often makes us turn inward. It pulls our energy toward the past, toward memory, toward sorrow. And when that happens, it is so easy to forget the body, the one carrying all of that emotion. But here is the truth many widows quietly face. They stop taking care of themselves, not because they do not care, but because they no longer feel like they matter. Let me tell you about Marcia. Marcia is 70 years old. After her husband passed away from a sudden heart attack, she spent weeks in pajamas. Days blurred together. Meals became snacks, sometimes crackers and tea, sometimes nothing at all. She stopped going to her weekly church group. She skipped her regular checkups. Her hair went unwashed. Her once beautiful flower beds outside grew wild with weeds. She told me, "I didn't see the point anymore. Who was I getting dressed for? Who cared if I ate?" And then one day, while folding laundry, she fainted. The doctor told her she was dehydrated. Her blood pressure was unstable. She was not sleeping. Her body was crying out for care. That was her wake-up call. She started small. A 10-minute walk each morning. A real breakfast with eggs and fruit. She made herself a calendar with reminders, water, vitamins, checkups. She even bought a new pair of sneakers, something her husband used to help her pick out every spring. Then she joined a senior yoga class at the local community center. She said, "At first, I just sat on the mat and cried, but the other women, they welcomed me. They understood." Today, Marcia is healthier than she has been in years. She glows, not just with physical strength, but with a kind of quiet pride. She told me, "I realized this body was the one my husband loved, hugged, and laughed with for decades. I owe it to both of us to keep it strong." And that is what I want you to remember too. Your body is not just a vessel. It is your home. It is the place where memories live, where laughter was felt, where hands were held. It has walked through grief, and it is still here, asking gently for your attention. You may not feel like going for a walk. You may not feel like preparing a good meal, but when you do, even when it is hard, you are whispering to yourself, I still matter. Eat meals that nourish you, not because someone else is watching, but because you are still worthy of care. Get sleep. Real, restful sleep. Make your bedroom a place of comfort, not just silence. Go to your doctor appointments. Listen to your body. Stretch, move, breathe deeply. If you loved someone who is now gone, you know what it means to care for someone deeply. Now, it is your turn. And if your body has changed, if you are tired more easily, or you have pain in your knees, or you do not look like you did at 50, that is okay. This is not about chasing youth. It is about embracing life. You do not need to become someone new. You just need to remember, you're still here, and that matters. Taking care of yourself is not vanity. It is not selfishness. It is an act of respect for your past, your future, and your present. So take a moment now. Place your hand over your heart. Feel that steady rhythm. That is your life, still moving, still giving you another chance, still full of possibility. You deserve to feel good again. You deserve a body that supports your spirit, not weighs it down. Start small, but start today. Because healing your heart begins with honoring the home it lives in, your body. Truth number 5. Do not shut the door on new joys and friendships. After loss, it is easy to believe the best parts of life are behind you. You may catch yourself thinking things like, I had my time. My joy left when they did. There is nothing new for me now. But that is not true. Yes, something beautiful ended, but your story did not. Let me tell you about Joyce. Joyce is 75 years old. Her husband, Ron, passed after a long illness. They had been married since they were teenagers, soulmates. She told me, it was not just the man I lost. I lost my rhythm, my laughter. I didn't know what to do with myself. For months, she barely left the house except for groceries and church. She felt like a ghost in her own life. One day, at her church's community potluck, a woman she hardly knew sat beside her and said, Would you ever want to join our Tuesday painting group? Joyce smiled politely, then shook her head. I'm not an artist, she said. But the woman just smiled back and said, You do not have to be. You just have to show up. And for some reason, Joyce did. The first few sessions, she just watched, doodled a little, mostly listened. The women laughed. They told stories. They talked about everything from recipes to regrets. It was the first time in months that Joyce felt something like warmth. Slowly, she began to paint. Her strokes were shaky at first, her colors unsure. But over time, something began to change, not just in her paintings, in her spirit. 2 years later, Joyce's art now hangs in the local library gallery. But more importantly, she has a new circle of friends, a reason to get up every Tuesday, a new kind of joy. She told me, I thought my blooming days were over, but all I needed was a little sunlight. Here is what I want to share with you. Your life is not over. The chapter with your spouse may have ended, but the book is not finished. Joy still exists, not to erase what you lost, but to remind you of what is still possible. There are still friendships waiting for you, the kind that do not replace what you had, but add to who you are. There are still hobbies you can try, songs you can dance to, books you can get lost in, walks you can enjoy, and conversations that can light up your day. You do not have to travel the world or climb a mountain. Sometimes, rediscovering joy means joining a club, planting herbs on your windowsill, or calling an old friend just to say, I miss you. Do not shut the door on life simply because one part of it hurts so deeply. Instead, gently open a window. Let in the air. Let in the light. You're allowed to laugh again. You're allowed to try new things. You're allowed to create new memories, even as you carry the old ones in your heart. Because joy, in this season of your life, is not loud. It is quiet, gentle, deep, and it belongs to you. So take that class. Go to that lunch. Say yes to the invite. Smile back when someone greets you. You never know which simple moment might turn into something beautiful. You're not done growing. You're not done giving. You're not done receiving. The world still has space for your smile. And your joy? It still matters. If you have listened all the way to this point, I want to pause and say something you might not hear enough. You are incredibly strong. Not because you do not cry, not because you keep it all together, but because in the quiet, painful moments, you keep going. You are here, you are listening. You are opening your heart to new wisdom. That is strength. That is courage. And that is beautiful. The truth is, life after loss is not about moving on. It is about moving forward, one step at a time, with love still in your heart. It is about making room for the sorrow and the sunlight, for the tears and the laughter, for the memories and the new beginnings. You have loved deeply, and that is something not everyone gets to experience. And yes, you have lost deeply too. But the depth of that loss is a reflection of the depth of your love. What you shared with your spouse is not gone. It is woven into who you are now and who you are becoming. So as you move forward, remember these 5 truths. Number 1, let the grief flow, but do not let it drown you. Number 2, love your children, but build a life that belongs to you. Number 3, be open to love, but never let loneliness make the choice. Number 4, care for your body. It is the home where healing begins. Number 5, say yes to new joys, even the small ones. Especially the small ones. You still have something to offer this world. Your story, your wisdom, your presence. They still matter. You are still a light. And the best part? You do not have to walk this chapter alone. There are other women, just like you, who are learning to breathe again, learning to laugh again, learning to trust life again. Reach for them. Let them reach for you. Because you deserve a life that is not just surviving, but slowly, beautifully, thriving. And if no one has told you today, I am proud of you, and I believe in everything your future still holds.